So thank you to everyone who's watching. A little bit of technical difficulties. You'd think we'd have it figured out by now, but we are doing a simultaneous broadcast. So we're on the Facebook public page, and then we're also on the Zoom page. So if you have any questions, you can either comment on the Facebook page or you can comment in the Zoom chat. Either way, we're going to be able to respond to those. But without further ado, this is our Wednesday, April 13th Q&A on considering selling your home and moving out of state, and those 6 things to consider before packing your bags.
That's right. So we're going to go over basically what's been a topic of discussion for a couple of years now for a lot of people, and actually what's been realized by a lot of people already, and that's the transition from California into the rest of the country. So we're going to highlight 6 key things for you to consider, but hopefully you find the information here useful, and hopefully if the decision is for you to go ahead and move out of state, that you give us here at KALEO a call to help you navigate that. So, all right, well, let's get started. Let's jump right into it. Chessa?
So the purpose of today's live stream is to really provide and equip you with the information to finalize your decision about moving out of state. So this is definitely going to be geared towards someone who's further along in the process of, you probably already decided what state you want to live in next. So you've done a little of that initial research. And so we really do appreciate you joining us. And again, a quick disclaimer, we don't provide tax, legal, accounting advice, and this is for informational purposes only. Please talk to, your CPA and attorney for that type of advice.
Yes, talk to a CPA or attorney. That is not us. We are here to give you real estate advice. So let's get right into things. So the 6 things that we're going to cover today is number 1, your motivation. Number 2, the timing and really the contingency. How do I do it? How do I maneuver one place to another place? What if I need the money out of my house? Number 3, we're going to talk about the person that's going to help you out of state, out of California. How do I locate them? How do I know they're a good agent? 4, we're going to talk to you about the process of listing your home. What is it that you do to list my home? Why is it something that matters in this whole scheme of things? Number 5, the tax ramifications. I'm going to be receiving a lot of money. Is this taxable income? What happens if I move this money out of state? What happens if I keep this money in state? What happens if I don't move or purchase anything else after I decide to sell? And also the last thing that we're going to cover is alternatives. If in fact all the information that you've considered and all of the time that you've spent, it turns out that you're going to stay in California, well, we've got some alternatives with regards to primarily property taxes, and for primarily those of you who are 55 and older. So with that, let's get into the first topic here of your motivation. So yes, motivation. If you are in fact motivated to even watch this or have had conversations with others, usually the motivation for moving out of state is one of 2 things. It's either job. In other words, you've located a job, you've decided that it's sufficient, it's good, or your employer has decided to move you out of state, or you're deciding to move out of state because of retirement. So, taxing, states taxing your retirement works differently. So California to Florida, California to Nevada, there's different tax ramifications on that income. So the first thing though is that you want to feel motivated, and that helps really manage the purpose behind all of the stress that's involved with the move, right? I mean, moving's a big deal, so you want to make sure that you're in line with your why, and so your motivation is key. So that's first thing to mention.
And then really the second thing, which is probably going to be the substantial amount of your stress and maybe the anxiety about doing a cross-country move, even if it's to the next state over to Arizona, there's still a lot of stress with that transition. And a lot of that has to do with the timing of the sale and then the contingencies. And by contingencies, we're talking about, are you buying a house? Is it contingent on this house getting sold here? So is there a chain reaction in a way of you selling here and buying someplace else? Or are you planning to just sell here, get all the money in your bank account, move out of the state, rent for a little bit and start looking at places like that?
That's right. So, I got to turn my mic on. So let's see here. Unmute. There I go. All right, thank you.
So we're gonna go through 4 different options that a person might have if they're considering selling and moving out of state, different ways to, rent back your own property and make it contingent, and James is gonna cover those.
Right, so the first thing to talk about is there's a contingency contingency on the selling of your property before you buy. And you say, well, what does that mean? It means that if you're going to buy out of state, you're going, I need the money from my first house to get over. How does that work? I don't want to rent back my house, which is one of our other options. I don't want to rent somewhere else and have to move twice, which is another option. But I'd like to do is I'd like to stay where I'm at, and then when I'm ready to actually when I'm ready to close on my property over in this other state, I then can go ahead and okay the close on my property. And so the way that we do that here is that we have a form that's called the Seller's Purchase of Replacement Property Contingency Form. So
SPRP.
SPRP.
And
we like
realtors,
acronyms.
Yeah, we love acronyms. So every form is going to have its own little name. But what this form is doing is it's actually putting a contingency in the contract that's saying you're not selling your house here in California unless you've already found something out of state. And
That's
lots
right.
of times you closing on a property out of state. So it gives you that security of feeling like you're not going to just sell your house here, not be able to back out of the escrow, and
That's
then be
right.
like, I have nowhere to go.
Yeah, and so the way to kind of understand this form, which is super critical, because again, everybody's different, and there's pros and cons to which approach you take, whether it's leasing back your home or whether it's renting or somewhere else. But with the SPRP, the Seller's Purchase of Replacement Property Contingency, the big thing to remember is this is like your homeless protection. In other words, if anything should happen where you weren't able to secure your property, if that was your intention, then you would be able to withdraw from the sale, withdraw from the escrow, because the contingency permits you to do that. Now, does it leave a buyer on the hook forever? No, not necessarily. There's time frames embedded in that agreement that talk about how it goes when you get to certain points in time. After 17 days, hey, have you found anything? No, we haven't. Okay, does the deal go away? Do we stop trying to move forward, or do we give more time to that effort? So in the big important thing is again, it's like your homeless protection. You're protected from being homeless, having sold your home with nowhere to go. That's, I think, a big important part to it. And here's some of the rub with that particular contingency. And that is that when you're going to purchase your home out of state, you're wanting to come in with your best foot forward, your strongest offer you can. And like California, other states are experiencing cash offers, non-contingent offers. And so when you go in with a contingency, this could be a detriment to the efforts in getting the home that you have been dreaming about somewhere else. And so what other sellers will elect to do is just go ahead and I'll sell my house, I'll have all my money in my possession, and then I'll lease it back from the person who bought it from me. Now, this is something we can negotiate fairly easily. It's something that's very common in today's marketplace to be able to negotiate what's called a sale leaseback. And so the sale leaseback is a very popular, very effective way to go ahead and sell your home and to arrange that timing.
Yeah, maybe we've even seen people, you have a neighbor that sells and it closes escrow, and then you still kind of see them around the neighborhood, and you're like, I thought your house closed.
Right.
And they're like, well, it did close, but we're staying in possession for 30 days. And again, these are trying to give you solutions to this dilemma of, I'm trying to sell here and I'm trying to move out of state and minimize the stress,
right,
and minimize kind of the friction in all of these decisions. And really this whole PowerPoint is geared so that you feel like you're coming away with information about how to do a more effective move. And a lot of that is having trusted people on your team to help you with that transition. And so there's a couple more options of how to make that move, having to do with kind of renting and then another loan program.
Yeah, and one thing to be certain is that moving is stressful.
Yes.
Moving is stressful any way you skin it, and it's exciting, it's good, but things that are exciting doesn't mean they're omitted from stress. So stress is a real thing, and so some things add to stress, some things lessen stress. So we're here to try to help you mitigate some of that stress. The third one, which is somewhat stressful, but again, they all are in different degrees for different people, is to sell and then rent somewhere else. Well, that would require you moving twice as well, and that's sometimes the least favorable. I sell my house, I go rent somewhere, and then I go to purchase something somewhere else in another state at a different time, so I've got multiple moves going on here. Sometimes it makes sense to rent in another state to establish yourself in the neighborhood, to get familiar with where you're actually going to live before you actually settle down. So that's actually a real thing that has happened with our clients. They've chose to rent out of state before they decided to purchase. So selling and then renting. So far we've got a contingency, to sit, I'm not going to close escrow on my house until I secure the escrow on the purchase that I'm going to. You also have, I can lease back my house, give myself plenty of time, put myself in a position of strength so that I can make a strong offer on that next home. And then I also have the hey, I'm gonna sell and then I'm just gonna rent. I'm gonna give myself all the time I need and I'm not gonna stress out about this. The last thing to mention is we do have a program, I shouldn't say we do, but a program exists from New American Funding called a Buyer Accepted Program. So the BAP program is where the New American Funding will qualify you as the seller based upon your credit worthiness and the home equities value, and they will buy your replacement property cash and then be able to giving you time to sell your current property. Now there's restrictions, there's costs involved with that, but again, it might be the solution you're looking for. It comes with a premium price, but that premium price might secure you the dream home that you've been seeking for so long, but that would be through New American Funding. Ryan Schultz, branch manager down here in Glendora, on Glendora Avenue. He's the one who's introduced the product to us, and it is something for us to, introduce you guys to, so that might be a solution. That might be a solution for you.
So another part of that move, you're hopefully working with an agent out here that you love, that you trust, that you're like, I feel 100% confident that they're gonna help me sell my house in California. But that other part, when you're moving out of state, it's like, well, how do I find a good agent when I'm not from the area, when I don't know anybody there? And that's where we can jump in with a team of, agents across the country that we can refer you to.
Yep.
These are people that have been vetted, they're trustworthy. A lot of times we've worked with them before, and these agents range from Knoxville, Tennessee, to agents in Texas and places in Idaho. And really, depending on where you are moving, that would be something we'd want to be a part of to help with.
Absolutely. And also too, the keep the camera on back up. Okay, so what is that one? We're getting some technical feedback here, so we're gonna turn the mic off on whose mic? I had my mic on, so you're going to turn it off now?
Gotcha.
Oh, it's probably because both of our mics are on, maybe.
So I've muted myself on Zoom. Hopefully everyone on Zoom can still hear us.
Yeah, can you still hear Chessa? Can you still hear me? Those who are on the call, we're good? Okay, so it's with both of our mics on, it was having some trouble. Okay, so we're back on. So one thing to mention too, that's better. Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, just let us know. Sooner than later. Great, thank you. One thing to mention is that Dan Colasanti is an agent in Tennessee and also an agent here with KALEO.
Yes.
Angela Denny is an agent in Tennessee, also an agent here with KALEO. Rex Rohr is an agent in Texas, also an agent here with KALEO. All of these agents are fantastic referrals. Obviously, they don't cover the entire state. I believe Rex is the north part of Dallas, anywhere north of there, or in the surrounding areas.
And Angela's been an agent out in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Dan is in kind of suburbs of Nashville. It's a place called Murfreesboro. So those are all KALEO agents that are licensed, in multiple states.
But we have referral agents, as Chessa was mentioning. So the process that we go through is my involvement with CAR, California Association of Realtors, and NAR, National Association of Realtors, has provided a wide network of agent referrals that actually are very reputable agents. And so many of the agents that we've referred to out of state come through this referral network. And so when we find out a location that you're looking for, we run a search basically in that category. We get correspondence going, we get dialogue going. Oftentimes these are agents who have either ran the state association, have some sort of leadership involvement, so they're reputable, and we're putting you in good hands when we send it over. But it's an important thing. It's a lot different than randomly searching on the internet or looking on Zillow and just saying, well, who can I find, and not really having a gauge as to who I might be going to work with out there.
And really that partner agent out of state, as we're listing our house here and getting it into escrow, there's that communication and dialogue with the agent out of state about the progress of the sale here, so that they're, in tune with knowing how to be submitting offers. And really the next thing we want to be going into is, how do we make listing your home here in California the smoothest move as possible, and knowing that, moving is always stressful and there's always hiccups that come along, but how do we market and list a home